Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Georgia and Clemson may be the main course in week 1. But to tide us over until then, we have a little appetizer in Atlanta with another huge matchup as the reigning national champions, the top-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide, take on number 14 Miami. This is a huge game, guys. A huge game, guys. And what a way to open the season down in Atlanta. Again, the reigning national champs versus a Miami team that is looking to bounce back from a disappointing finish in 2020, a team that is looking to make the ACC championship and maybe even crash the college football playoff party. And a win in Atlanta would certainly boost their resume in doing so. So before we break down this game, guys, between the Crimson Tide and the Hurricanes, we again want to welcome you back to the Gridiron Expert. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. We have non-stop college football coverage coming your way all season long. And it feels so good to be back talking about games again. No more preseason stuff, no more COVID stuff. We are here for a normal college football season. So, of course, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to check out everything down in that description too, guys. Today, just a few minutes ago, we put out our expert picks for week 1. So make sure to go sign up for our expert picks today. Make sure to go sign up for those. We have a couple games coming out on Thursday that you do not want to miss out on. So go sign up for those before really all the games get started. Of course, you can sign up at any point over the course of the season because it is a year-long subscription. But the longer you wait, the more analysis you miss and the more opportunities to make some money you miss. So make sure to go sign up for our expert picks. I promise you will not regret that. Make sure to go check out PrizePicks. Just check out everything down in the description below. Help us help you. It will be one of the best decisions you make over the course of this entire college football season. I can promise you that. So let's take a look at Alabama-Miami, guys. Again, one of the bigger games of the week. This is our second game of the week. Obviously, Georgia and Clemson, that's number 1. It has to be. Number 5, number 3. But this game right here between Alabama and Miami is our number 2 game of the week. And it could live up to the hype, and it could be a very, very good one in Atlanta. Let's go ahead and start breaking things down, and we'll start on the offensive side of the ball. Alabama is the designated road team, if you will, so we'll start with them. And the first question I have for all of you is, do you really care? Do you really care what Alabama lost? Do you? They lost their quarterback in Mac Jones. They lost their running back in Najee Harris. They lost the Heisman Trophy winner in Devontae Smith. They lost Jalen Waddle. They lost a handful of offensive linemen. All of that coming on the offensive side of the ball. They lost their offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian. He's off to become the head coach at Texas. But do we care? No, we don't. Because this happens every single year for Nick Saban in Alabama. Every year, it's the same old story. Look at how much they lost. Oh no, they lost a handful of coaches. They're not going to be the same. They're going to struggle. And what do? They come out and they punch whoever it is they're playing in the mouth, and they go on and win another national championship or another SEC championship. It's the same old story. And that's not going to be any different here, offensively at least, for Alabama. So much hype surrounding this offense despite how much they lost. Bryce Young is in at quarterback, and I think he fits his offense perfectly. Bill O'Brien's offense perfectly. Yes, Bill O'Brien, the former Houston Texans head coach, is now the offensive coordinator for Alabama. He fits this mold perfectly. A lot of hype surrounding him, and when we saw him briefly last year, he looked great. He has a great running back to go along with him, Brian Robinson, who behind Najee Harris still rushed for over 400 yards, nearly 500 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And then there's John Mechie, who behind Devontae Smith quietly put up 916 reception yards and 6 touchdowns. You know, in this game against Miami, maybe in a few weeks after, it may take a while to get this offense rolling. It may take a little while for Alabama and these young players to build chemistry and get things going. But the offense is going to be just fine. Last year, their big 3 was Mac Jones, Najee Harris, and Devontae Smith. Your big 3 this year is Bryce Young, Brian Robinson, and John Mechie. Remember those names because those are your big Alabama playmakers in 2021. The offense is going to be just fine. When you look at Miami, everybody is back offensively for them. Pretty much everybody's back. But of course, the entire offense rides on D'Eriq King. It all comes down to the health of D'Eriq King, who tore his ACL in that bowl game against Oklahoma State. So late December, he tears his ACL, a devastating injury after what was a great year for him. Threw for over 2,600 yards, 23 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions, did a phenomenal job of taking care of the football. And on top of that, added over 500 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. This guy can do it all. We expect him to play, obviously, in this game against Alabama, but will he be 100%? And furthermore, we have to pray that he doesn't get hurt again. Because if he gets hurt again, Miami's season is shot. The entire offense and the entire season rides on the health of D'Eriq King. But if he stays healthy, and we believe he will, and if he plays well against Alabama, and we believe he will, he has a great supporting cast around him to put up solid numbers. Starts with the running back, Cameron Harris. Over 600 rushing yards last year and 10 touchdowns. He returns the majority of his top wide receivers and pass catchers from last year. The offense for Miami is loaded, and Rhett Lashlee has done a phenomenal job of transforming this offense from one that was stagnant under the Mark Richt days to now one that's in the top 50 in the entire country. Miami's offense, again, will be just fine if D'Eriq King can stay healthy and if the offensive line can continue to improve. Their offensive line was horrendous in 2019. They improved a little bit last year. They allowed a sack and a half less per game last year than they did in 2019. If they can do that again, maybe just one more sack less per game this year. Bolster up the offensive line. Protect D'Eriq King is going to be the main priority here. Miami's offense could thrive and be even better than they were last year. Last year they were pretty dang good, and they were efficient too. When you look at the defense for Alabama, it's your strength of the team. And if you're Miami's offensive line, you've got to be worried about going up against this Crimson Tide front seven. Really, if you're Miami's offense, period, you have to be worried about going up this Alabama's defense. 8 starters are back. It's the strength of the team. It's the most experienced area of the team. So any struggles that Alabama might have offensively, it will be made up for defensively. Quick 3 and out by Alabama's offense. No worries. The Alabama defense will probably go out there and force Miami or whoever they play into another 3 and out. This Alabama defense is good, guys. I mean, listen to the talent here. I mean, last year alone, the national championship winning team, they were 13th in the nation in scoring. They are 17th in the nation versus the run. Those numbers and those stats and those rankings have a chance to improve, and that's scary to think about. DJ Dale returns up front along that defensive line. The linebacking core may be the best in the country. Christian Harris, Will Anderson, Christopher Allen, all of those guys back at linebacker. Again, might be the best linebacking core in the country. The secondary, absolutely loaded. Josh Jobe, Malachi Moore, Jordan Battle, all of them are back there, and those numbers are going to improve, and that secondary is going to improve. Alabama gave up 239.2 passing yards per game last year. That was 70th in the nation. That's not acceptable by Nick Saban standards. Not acceptable at all. But with those players in that secondary, those numbers are going to improve drastically. They're going to improve big time. And that's not good news for D'Eriq King, because Miami, if they want to win this game, they're going to have to win it through the air, because it's going to be very, very difficult to beat Alabama on the ground. It's difficult for any team to defeat Alabama solely on the ground. When you look at Miami and their defense, they're no slouch either. You've got to give credit to Manny Diaz and the Hurricanes here for what they're trying to build. And again, like we've talked about with a handful of teams already, whether it be in game of the week predictions or just preseason predictions, you have to erase some things from your memory. And you can't focus on the past or the last thing that you saw from a team. Because if you looked at Miami's defense, the last few games, like the game against North Carolina where they allowed 554 rushing yards and 62 points, or the bowl game against Oklahoma State where they allowed 37 points, if you look at that, you're going to say Miami's defense is nothing. Miami's defense isn't any good, they don't stand a chance, they're terrible, and all that other stuff. But you can't do that. A lot has happened, a lot has changed since that time. First, for starters, I'll say this. Manny Diaz is back as defensive coordinator. He has resumed his role as calling the shots on defense, and that, to me, is the best move that he could have made. He was the defensive coordinator for Miami under Mark Richt. It was when Miami had one of the best defenses in the country year in and year out, so why not go back to what was working? Go back to your leader, and that is Manny Diaz, serving as head coach and DC for the Hurricanes. 9 starters are back for Miami this year, so a very experienced defense for Diaz to work with. And to me, the leader, and it all starts with their leader, Bubba Bolden, who's back at safety, but was the leading tackler last year for Miami. The biggest downfall, really, for the Hurricanes defensively is their rushing defense. That's the key number and the worry that I have is, can Miami improve enough versus the run to stop Alabama? The Hurricanes gave up 174.5 rushing yards per game. 174.5 rushing yards per game. So Bryce Young, a dual-threat quarterback, and Brian Robinson, who put up solid numbers last year as a young running back behind one of the best in the country in Najee Harris, both those guys are banking on having a big day against a suspect Miami rushing defense. If those numbers don't improve, if those players don't improve, it could be a long day for the Hurricanes on defense. And that, again, this next point I'm about to make doesn't help their cause any. They lose a lot of players up front on that defensive line, especially along the edges, mainly Jalen Phillips, we should add. guy who had over 8 sacks last year. There were 3 defensive ends that are out of Miami with NFL potential, went off to the NFL. And when you look at what Miami's done to replace them, not much. Couple transfers, and they've got some underclassmen there that are trying to bolster up the defensive line. The problem is those underclassmen combined for 2 starts. 2 career starts in those underclassmen. So to me, that defensive line for Miami is a little bit scary, which means the rushing defense can still be a little bit scary and not in a good way. Miami has got to find a way, for me personally, to shut down the Alabama run game, force Bryce Young, a young quarterback, to win the game through the air, and if they can create pressure early on Bryce Young, force him out of the pocket, force him into some bad, quick throws, Miami's defense can keep them in this game, and this game could be close going into the fourth quarter. But that's the key. Got to stop the run, got to pressure Bryce Young. Do not give him time to throw, and don't let Brian Robinson bully you just like Oklahoma State and North Carolina did. A lot to cover there. Again, a lot has changed for both these teams. Alabama, yes, is a top-ranked team in the country. They're always going to have a target on their back. They're the greatest dynasty maybe in college football history. The reigning national champs, number 1 team in the country, but they lose a lot. Can Miami take advantage of that? Can Miami's defense take down an Alabama offense that might not be 100%? And by that, I mean not fully made so much chemistry, not fully 100% installed, not fully ready to go. It's a young offense. Can Miami's defense exploit that? Can Miami's offense at all exploit the Alabama defense that will be one of the best in the country? Those are the 2 storylines you have to watch. And if Miami can do that, because we're talking more about Miami here having to do things. When you're playing the number 1 team in the country, you have to play a dang near flawless game. If Miami can do that, this game has the chance to be close in the third quarter, maybe going into the fourth. And the whole nation will be watching this game before they turn their eyes, of course, to Charlotte for Clemson and Georgia. But what do we think is going to happen? What do we think? Those are our keys to the game. Those are the major storylines to watch. But what do we genuinely think will happen in Atlanta on Saturday afternoon? There is one key stat, really a sentence, that's going to sum up our final prediction here. Alabama under Nick Saban is 10-0 in neutral site season openers. 10-0 in neutral site season openers under Nick Saban. 6 of those 10 wins have come against ranked opponents. We're talking teams like Michigan, Wisconsin, USC, West Virginia, Virginia Tech. Not all of those teams were ranked opponents, but you get the gist. They were Power 5 opponents, and Alabama beat every single one of them. 10-0 in neutral site openers under Nick Saban, 6 of them coming against ranked opponents. All 10 of those victories, guys, coming by an average of 26.7 points per game. The 10 victories for Alabama have come by an average of 26.7 points per game. And the point we kind of briefly alluded to in the beginning was, yes, we know Alabama loses a lot. Yes, we know this is not the exact same Alabama team that we saw last year that annihilated Ohio State in the national championship game. But we say that every single year that Alabama goes off and wins a national title and then ships a bunch of players off to the NFL. It's not the same team. They lost too much. They're too young. Are they going to have enough? Are they going to be, are they going to understand the system? Are they going to be good enough to take down a top 15 opponent? Every year, Alabama proves the doubters wrong. And they go out there and they win big time in their season opener. And I don't think that's going to be any different this year. Why would it be? They still have the best coach, to me, in college football history, best coach in college football right now. They still have loads of talent, 5-star talent that's just been sitting there on the bench waiting for their turn, just like every other year they've done this. They're playing a Miami team that is not bad by any means. The teams that Alabama beat in the past were not bad by any means. The majority of them go on to have successful seasons. They just start their season on the wrong note, on the wrong foot, because they got the top-ranked team in the country and they get blown out big time. And I think that's what happens here in Atlanta. I think it's close for a while, maybe even close at halftime. But I don't think Miami's going to have enough to hang with Alabama. I don't think their offense is going to have enough to exploit Alabama's defense. And the Crimson Tide will roll in this game by double digits in dominant fashion for their 11th victory in a neutral site season opener and their 7th in that time against a ranked opponent. The Crimson Tide will start 1-0, and they will remain the team to beat in the entire country until proven otherwise. So guys, there you have it, our second game of the week. It's going to be a fun one, at least maybe not a close one like Clemson, Georgia, but still one that you need to keep your eye on. We do believe Alabama and the Tide roll in this one over Manny Diaz and the Hurricanes. Guys, again, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything, like we said, down in the description below. Go sign up for those expert picks today. They just came out today for week 1. I can promise you, you do not want to miss out on this offer. Help us help you. Go sign up for the expert picks so you can get our analysis and picks all year long. Again, the link for that down in the description. Go check it out. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.